Tom, any woman right now from Iran can tell you their reason why they don't want to be there. And I was there at the very beginning of the revolution, and I look back and I go how difficult and restrictive everything was, so how oppressive everything was. But now it's even worse. So it wasn't that I was tenacious. I wanted to survive and reach my life.
It's so bad now.
To live.
Yes, I know. It's just such a human story of survival.
Welcome to World of Marketing Podcast, a Foster Web Marketing production. Here's your host, Tom Foster.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to World of Marketing, where I, Tom Foster, talk with business leaders about, yes, you guessed it, marketing, mindset, and the growth of healthcare businesses. This episode is brought to you by Foster Web Marketing. Since the internet was born, Foster has been the premier provider of customized websites, SEO, video, and strategic solutions for elite healthcare firms. Our unparalleled web technology and systems set the gold standard in the industry, catering exclusively to a discerning clientele who demand the best. We are in a series centered on trailblazing women transforming their industries, featuring candid conversations with dynamic women who share their journeys, challenges, and innovative strategies for success. Whether you're an aspiring marketer or an established leader, this podcast will be a resource for inspiration, empowerment, and expert tips from some of the brightest women in their fields. Today, I am thrilled to introduce our next guest, my good friend and client. I've got to disclaim, she's a client of mine, but a very good friend, very nice, lovely lady, Dr. Pardis Kelly, a dedicated foot care specialist and the founder of Las Vegas Footcare. Dr. Kelly has built her practice around a philosophy of addressing the root causes of foot issues, often experimenting with treatments herself before recommending them to her patients. Dr. Kelly's journey to where she is now wasn't easy. As an immigrant who endured war and revolution, we're going to get into this. She's overcome immense challenges. Yeah, more than I knew, and that's what we're going to dig into it. I'm excited. Emerging with resilience and compassion that shape her patient care every day. Pardis, it's so good to see you and talk to you. And thank you very much for taking the time, because you're a very busy doctor, taking care of your patients, to sit down with me today and talk about this.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Actually, your invitation came as a surprise. I told your assistant, I said, are you sure that Tom wants to talk to me?
Oh, my God, yes.
I'm not an expert in anything.
You're a trailblazer. You're a trailblazer. Like that's what I'm saying. It's like, so what do you, and in so many ways, and let's talk about it. Like, so tell me how, where did you come from, Pardis? How did you came to be, and how did you come from here to there?
Okay, so I mean, I can go as far back as my childhood.
What inspired you to be a podiatrist?
Well, I always wanted to be a doctor.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people say, well, I remember in high school someone inspired me. I think I was 3 years old when I knew I was going to be a doctor, because I would use a pen, like an injection, and I would practice it on my brothers. I have two older brothers. So, and I think part of that is, I don't want to say genetics, but I come from a line of.
And where are you from, Pardis?
I will get to that one.
Okay, sorry.
So my grandmother, my mother, my aunt, my great grandmother, they were all into just healing art, and I was born and raised in Iran. I lived there up to until high school. Until when I came here, basically my path was to go to medical school and become a doctor. But everything really started from childhood. I watched my grandmother using food and herbs as medicine, and I grew up with that. I still have things from back
I
home
love that.
in old jars that I every so often I go and
That is
use
fantastic.
it.
So you remember from way back when you were a child, like these herbs and medicines, natural nature, right? Organic.
Yeah.
This is the healing thing, right?
Yes, yes, and I
Wow.
continue to use it. When my children were young, and they still, even though they're adults, I use those natural remedies for their colds and aches and pains and such. So this is where my background is as far as medicine. And when I came here and I went to school in mid '90s, it was a bit challenging to get to a specific field in medicine. Let's say if you wanted to be an internal medicine, there was a lot of competition. And at that point, I decided that whatever comes my way, as long as it's medicine, I am okay with it. And boy, that was just the greatest choice. I think about it. My husband Chris and we talk about it, that I did it based on just wanted to get into medicine ASAP.
That's so great. Like, think about that. Like, think about that for kids, today, that message. Like, if you can grasp onto like medicine, like I want to be a doctor.
Yeah.
Right. Like I want to be a doctor in America. Right. Like, boom. And that's what you did. Right.
Yep. So people ask me, how did you choose podiatry? I said, it chose me. I just wanted to heal people, and podiatry chose me, and thank goodness. Universe just put that on my path, and that was it. And
So let's back up a little bit. I love this. Let's back up a little bit though. Like so when did you leave Iran?
okay, so uh so
Yes, tell us this story.
there's a lot of backgrounds with this.
Yes, please.
So I was about 11. If I remember correctly, fifth grade, the revolution happened. The next 10 years or 8 years, I went to school during the revolution with all its issues. And then at the very end, when I finished high school, I was supposed to take this test, which we all take as a high school students to enter college. It's a 3-day test. It's a massive operation. All students basically work their way all the way to the end of the high school to take that test, so they can get into whatever field they want to. And so I had worked really hard to get to that point with all the
This
studies.
is the Iranian school system.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have to say, high school is very difficult.
Yeah.
And so when I got to that point, just a week before that big test, I had a pathological fracture in my right arm, and which was a tumor. And then
How did that happen?
Very sudden, very sudden. I had no idea I had it. And
It just came up?
It just basically, I broke my arm by opening a cab door, and I
Wow.
heard the crunch, and then so through a series of events, I ended up not being able to really focus on this big test that was going to determine my life, my professional life, and so I ended up really failing that big test. And this illness, I also ended up having surgeries down the road. And and when all the results came, results of they in Iran, they print all the results in the newspaper and everybody knows who got into what school. And so I basically found myself on the bottom of the list, and really not getting into anything. And I was quite upset. And this was actually I was in the hospital post operation for my tumor. And my father saw me how upset I was. And he said, don't worry. Your brothers are already in the United States. My two older brothers had been already here. He said, it's time for you to leave. Once this illness is taken care of, I will make sure you get to America. And
you're 11?
No, at that point I was 18 years old.
Okay, 18. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, 11, 18. Okay, very good. Wow.
At age 11, working the middle school and high school toward the goal of getting into university, and of course,
how different is the? I don't know how far I want to get into this, but is the Iranian? Because you've experienced both, right? The Iranian education system and the American education system, and what we're teaching our people, our population. Is it vastly different?
It is. I used to say
you had to relearn history.
Well, this is so when you're in Iran, when you get to high school, you have to choose a major, and you are either math and physics, or biology, or history, or homemaking, some sort of economics. And I put it out there because in that level, math and physics is really smart kids become a math and physics major. Then the biology, and that goes down. And so with math and physics, you go into engineering. With biology, you go into medicine and things related. So I was math and physics major in high school. Mm-hmm. And in order for me to take the test to become a doctor, I actually had a tutor for 2 years to teach me biology. So I would be ready for this big test. So how difficult was it? Very difficult. To this day, I just remember those sleepless nights, just trying to really study hard to get to the point of that, the big test. We call it concours, or conquer, I guess. You conquer.
Concours. Yeah, right? Yeah. Wow.
So it was very
giant. That's like the SATs here, right?
Yeah, even more.
And more, like times a million.
More. Your life really depended on it. You didn't have the luxury of going to a community college if you didn't get in. So this was
and that test, the results of that test would slot you into what you're going to do.
Exactly. Because they would rank you based on your result, and the higher your rank,
then you'd find out what you're supposed to do.
If you had a high rank, you could choose whatever. But it's a lot crazy. Of pressure on a teenager. You have 4 years of high school, and I was basically double majoring, and it was not easy. So when we talk about challenges. And when I talk about it, and I'm going, my gosh, I mean, at the time I didn't think of it being a challenge, but it was just a way of living and life and education. I look back and I go, what kind of a thing was that?
No kidding. So you came here when you were 18.
I finished high school.
How did you come here? Tell me the story. Tell us the story how you did it.
I didn't get here when I was 18 because at the time, in order for us to come to America, we had to go to an embassy, and of course, Iran and the U.S. didn't have that relationship. So we went to Turkey, Istanbul. We traveled there to get visa, and
your whole family.
Myself and my parents. My brothers were already here in the U.S. And so we went to Istanbul, the embassy of American embassy in Istanbul to apply for me to get a visa, and they rejected me 3 times.
3 times. Why did they reject you?
Because they said you are going to go to US and stay there. I mean, who knows what their reasons were.
But it's like, how can they have the authority to reject it? Like
they do,
so that is essentially not allowing you to leave your country to go to another country.
Well,
it's
they're
so
not
ridiculous.
Entering US. It was
The
very
freedom, like, God, wow, how tyrannical. It's terrible.
This was very this was the next challenge. So what happened was, my brothers were here already. My parents wanted to come and visit. They gave a visa to
How did your brothers got visas?
Yeah,
your brothers got in.
My older brother, he left Iran right before the revolution, and that was in 1979. My second brother, he's the one that came right after in early 80s. He came through Istanbul embassy as well, but they gave him visa, and when it got to me, they wouldn't. So at that point, my parents were coming to US to visit my brothers, and my parents said, "We don't want you to go back to Iran. You're staying here in Istanbul to basically, because we don't know if they will close borders or what's going to happen. We have to figure out a living situation for you in Istanbul." I didn't speak English. I didn't speak Turkish. But I ended up living in Istanbul with a very lovely, lovely Armenian family for 2 years, while my family from both Iran and US worked on getting me to US through the proper channels. And so I ended up getting my visa from Prague in Czechoslovakia back then, when it was under communism. I had the opportunity to stay in a communist country for 40 days, and I got my visa. So by the time I came here, I was 20 years old. So,
wow, what a beautiful! Oh my God, you just blew my mind about that story of just immigrating to America, like what you had to go through. Like, yeah. And thinking about like what,
yes, well,
everything going on. But
my story in the middle, the living in Turkey for 2 years, going to a communist country for your American visa, that by itself was, I have a lot of memories, a lot of fun things.
Wow, but just like amazing. And you're 18-year-old girl, and you're doing this thing. First of all, good for you that at that age, you knew what you wanted to do, and you were tenacious, and you were determined, and you were driving towards it.
Tom, any woman right now from Iran can tell you their reason why they don't want to be there. And I was there at the very beginning of the revolution, and I look back and I go, how difficult and restrictive everything was, so how oppressive everything was, but now it's even worse. So it wasn't that I was tenacious. I wanted to survive and reach my life.
It's so bad now
to live.
Yes, I know. It's just such a human story of survival, and like, wow, you escaped that terrible. Yeah. Thank God you did. Right? Thank God you did. Thank God. And well done. Well done.
Thank you. Well, I have to say, when I look at next time we see each other, if it's summertime, you will see my scar on my right arm, which is from the surgery. And I look at that and I go, thank God for this broken arm. Because that was the reason.
Yeah. Otherwise you would have just been in the thick of it. You would have just been thrown into the apparatus.
Yes.
Worker. Wow.
It was my blessing in disguise. At the time, it didn't look like blessing, but it was a blessing in disguise. And every day I look at this scar and I go, thank goodness, thank God for the tumor. I mean, how else can
Yeah.
yeah, look at it.
Like
So
it's a different path for sure. But
yeah,
like, wow, what a path, what a journey to come to here. Congratulations.
well, thank you.
You're well done. Pardis, you're my friend. I adore you. And we've hiked together. Everybody, like, Pardis is just so active and such a great person, great energy. Chris, her husband, wonderful man, who runs the practice, right? He's the business guy behind it, and you're the doctor, and it's perfect. It's a perfect thing, and you guys, coexist in harmony at home and also in the office, which is a beautiful thing, right? And that's actually true for many doctor practices, healthcare practices, is that this relationship, either way, right? Like, it could be either way. But I love this spouse support. So how did you meet Chris? Okay, so you became a doctor. Wait, all right, before we get to that, I'm messing it all up. Sorry, everybody.
That's all right.
We got to back up. Because, all right, so you come to the U.S., you finally get in the U.S.
Yeah.
And so, like, how do you determine, I'm going to be a doctor now. How do you get that going? Like, you're just a new person in the U.S.
Yeah, well, I had the support of my brothers. They basically.
Oh, that's true. They were already here, right?
They helped me kind of navigate the school system.
Did you have to go back to school and learn stuff?
Well, I had to do my pre-med, which I started with the community college in Riverside, Southern California. That's where
when were you taught? When did you learn English?
Well, the English part was done before I got to the community college. So there are courses that you take to learn English while talking, to friends and being here. You have to, again, survive. So you're forced to do it. But at the same time, there are courses you take, and then you have to pass a test called TOEFL test. The TOEFL test is basically your number grade determines whether you're ready to enter a American school education, and so I went through that schooling for English for about, I want to say, 3 months, and then after that I took my TOEFL test. And then I started applying for different places and universities. And because it was so expensive, because tuition was out of state and out of country, I started with a community college in Riverside, and that's where I met Chris.
Okay, so you got Riverside, California.
Yep.
So that's where you came. That's where your brothers were, and that's where you went.
They were in Southern California, Orange County, and then later we moved to Riverside.
To North. Right, up there. Okay.
To Riverside. Okay. But yeah, Northern California came later. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you went to the community college in Riverside. How long did you go there?
I was there for a little bit under 2 years. And that's when I met my husband. And we were 23 when we decided we should get married, because I was about to transfer to UC San Diego to continue with the pre-med. And we had to decide whether we wanted to be married or have long distance relationship.
Sure.
And so we got married, and he also followed me with his schooling, went to San Diego State, and I was there in San Diego for a couple of years. And then I got accepted to a couple of podiatry schools. We decided to go with this school in California, in San Francisco. And again, he followed me to San Francisco State, where he graduated with his mechanical engineering degree. And I went into medicine, did residency, fellowship, had 2 kids while I was in school.
Very good. Excellent. You guys got it made, man. You got to figure it out.
Yeah. So then started practicing, and
that in San Francisco.
Yes, this was all in San Francisco Bay Area.
Bay Area, right?
Yeah. I started my first practice was in San Carlos, which I later bought that practice from the doctor that I was working with.
Okay.
And I stayed there for 21 years in the same practice. It had a lot of goodwill. It was a small community. We lived there, and then 2020 came, and then that's when we decided it was time for us to change of scenery. And the kids were older, out of the house, and we decided to sell the practice and move to Vegas and start a new practice.
Whatever.
I'm fast forwarding a lot of stuff.
You just yeah, exactly. Like, wow. All right, back. We're gonna back it up a little bit here, but I appreciate that. That's great filler. But the big thing is, like, so you. How does somebody come up with, okay, we're just going to move to Vegas. We're going to shut down the practice here, the successful practice in San Francisco.
How did we come up with it? Okay, so
was it a lifestyle choice, like you wanted to live in a different area, environment, or was it?
I think I was always ready to leave California. I mean, as much as I love the Bay Area and all the beautiful redwoods and hikes that I'm totally in love with, I was ready to leave. I think I as successful as the business was, I saw where we were hitting the ceiling, and I just didn't want that in a way. I knew because I think I wanted we both, Chris and I, wanted a bit more growth in the practice. And as much as you have something, you love something and you're successful, after 21 years it kind of gets a little bit old, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I can do this a little bit differently in a different place, and we can have a different, maybe a little bit more fun lifestyle, maybe a bigger practice space-wise. All of those kind of dictate your mindset. And it started just very gradually. And when we came here for one of the top practices meeting in July of 2020, we were like, wow, this place is great. I'm sure our fantastic friend Ram will tell you that, that the first meeting that I had here, the Red Rock meeting, was the start of all of this. Even though I didn't want to be here at that meeting, but it started all this shift in the mindset, and it kind of snowballed from there.
So what do you mean you didn't want to go? They had to bring you kicking, and Chris was like, "You're coming."
So this was, I believe, in 2018. That Ram.
You'd already moved?
No, we hadn't moved then. 2018, Ram had a mastermind group, Red Rock Mastermind Group. I think it was the very first one. He announced.
You're still in San Francisco now.
We're still in San Francisco. And he announced it that during one of the top practices in Vegas that we had attended, our first one. And Chris said, "You're going." I said, "No, I'm not." He said, "Yes, you are." And then he came.
He won.
And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I already paid for it. You're going." So 4 months later, in February, when I come to Vegas, We joke about it that I came with the biggest chip on my shoulder when I saw Ram, and I said, Ram, I don't want to be here, and I don't know why I'm here. And of course, within 48 hours of this whole meeting, my mindset was again shifted and changed, and I was already scoping Summerlin, going, oh, this is a nice place.
I didn't think I remember that. I was there for that whole. I
So
remember the prickliness, I think, and then the transition. And I remember Chris being like, she'll get around, because Chris was all on board with us and Ram and everybody else.
yes.
And it was just convincing you. And then you came around.
You know, culturally, I have to say I come from a what we call low trust society, and
Yeah.
so that is still within me. I
Sure.
have to check everything before I move forward. So even with the thought of moving to Vegas for a year and a half to 2 years, I was checking the weather app to see where between this here and Scottsdale. So
Well, that all makes sense considering what you've been through. You want to make sure that, like your decisions are good decisions. My Lord.
yes. So yeah, then when Chris said maybe we should move, I was already ready here, and I was looking to get my license in Nevada. So we did what we did.
And so when was that?
That was so July 2020 is when Chris said maybe we should consider moving, and I said yes. And by December 21st of 2020, we were here.
Wow. Okay. So 3 years you've been there?
So yeah, this is this is going to be 3 years.
Okay. So now let's transition to rebuilding a practice from scratch with knowledge. You already know how to do it, right? So like it's a do-over. What a great opportunity. Like you can just do a do-over, like everything that you
exactly.
Right. Exactly. All the mistakes you made from the first one, you're not making on this one when you're setting up your practice.
So to set a practice, obviously, you have to have a lot of different things in your foundation before you can build it. And we said, like you said, we thought, okay, this is a do-over. We know how to do it. This shouldn't be that difficult. Not necessarily, because this is a different state.
Yeah.
Different state has different rules.
Now, let me ask you this question. Did you buy another podiatrist, or did you just put your tent pole in the ground?
Yes.
That's even the harder, guys. Like, wow. Like, so, just move or practice like complete strangers. No list, no nothing. Hey, we're now in Vegas, like starting from scratch. Like, right. Amazing story that you just gave up everything and said, oh, whatever. And like, we're moving to Vegas, everybody. It's just such a beautiful, fantastic story for both of you guys. You don't realize how amazing this is, what you've done, like for you, because you live it every day, right? You're just walking through it every day. But for a guy like me, I'm like, wow, like I've had my company for 30 years. I haven't, moved here and there, but you like shuttered it and moved and started anew. That's really impressive for both.
So when we meet colleagues in top practices, and I always say we are the crazy couple that sold the practice in the Bay Area, moved to Vegas. Now
yeah. It is crazy. What are you talking about? That's so crazy. That's so risky, and I love it. And like everybody listening to this, love this too, man, because it just shows that. And now you guys are the happiest you've ever been, right?
Yes, Vegas has been very kind to us.
And the practice. How long did it take to get up and running?
So we moved December 2020. We didn't open our doors until June 1st of 2021. And really the first six months to the end of the 2021, we were just trying to figure things out. what's going on, contracts with insurances.
But you had cash, right? You had cash going in from the other business. So you had cash to help you?
Very little. Not a lot. We
Okay. You had enough to
yes.
survive for 6 months, right? Without
Yeah.
that reoccurring revenue coming in
So
while you built it up.
Yeah, needless to say, we didn't draw anything from the year one. I don't think we really drew much on year two. We just built it to the level that it was taking care of itself. And but yeah, it took a minute because, like I said, it's a different state.
How
Different.
did you build it? How did you build it?
My husband, Chris,
Yeah.
is my rock. He is the one that literally would go drive north, south, east, west, stopping at a light and Google the podiatrist, the doctors near me collected like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of doctors' names, kind of put it in a different, different categories, and then he would start doing his marketing.
What? Like what did he do? Email them, call them?
Just walk into them. Here are the cards. We are new.
He would go in there personally.
And then he would take me later to introduce me as a second round. And
so he would go in there to test the waters, see if this is good. Then he'd bring in the doctor, and then you build the referral relationship.
We weren't testing waters. We were just throwing a very wide net to whomever. And we really didn't know who our sources of referrals were until we were in it. Because, like I said, this is a different city, different state, different demographics, different mindset. So we kind of had to learn the psychology of the city and understand how people refer. Who is the person in charge of referral? It's not the doctor. It's the front desk and the referral coordinator. So we had to learn all of those.
Yeah.
But he was the one that really orchestrated all of this, all of it. I would have not been able to do this without him. This is not me saying I'm superwoman and I did it by myself. Absolutely not. He was the major part of this plan. So
well, I know that. I coached Chris for many months, and he is on it. And we're so appreciative to have you as a client. You're so dynamic. You're such a great, our DIY clients. That's what Chris is. He's just rocking it himself. Smart guy. You're lucky. You guys are both lucky to have each other. It's a great team. You're a great team. You're a great team. And folks, you see them together. I'm going to get Chris on another podcast. I want to get him on it to get the other side of this, because I know he's got another side of all of this. And it's beautiful. I love you guys together. And I appreciate you so much as that you're in my life, that we're friends and we're client, that you're my client and we work together, but we're partners. And, I get to fly out and see Pardis and Chris, a couple times a year, different events. We get together. Wonderful people. And that's really what this is about, right? Working with people that you want to work with. And what a story. What a compelling story, what you've been through to get to where you are now. And that just gives everybody hope for wherever you are. You can overcome anything, man. Nothing can stop you from getting your dreams. And Pardis is proof positive of that. So Pardis, wow. Congratulations. And thank you so much for being on my podcast and telling your story openly and sharing. I had a bunch of questions, but we're good. We've gone 45 minutes here. Fantastic. Thank you.
I always do part two.
Yeah, we can do a part two. We'll pick it up again because when you move somewhere else. All right. Everybody, it has been Pardis and Tom on the World of Marketing. Everybody have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon. Thank you so much for listening.